So again, welcome everybody. If you have questions, Marsha and Kim are here in the chat and they are going to be keeping an eye out on things. And so there is a Q&A section, or you can use the chat either or. Since we don't have a whole large group of people, we just want to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered. At the very end, we will go over any questions, but I'll first go through what I have planned and we will kind of walk through those steps. So first off, what we're going to cover, and it's going to be just the basics of getting started on the right foot with Mydoma, overview of setting up profiles, catalogs, and user management. Of course, hands-on expert demonstration by myself. And then kind of transition timelines and guidance and support. So transition timelines would be, if you aren't with Mydoma already, kind of like how that would go forward. So 3 steps to prepare for change. Know your why. Why are you thinking of making a change? Is it to save time, money, or grow your business? Commit to learning, start slow, and focus on what you need first, and then continue on to the next thing. Sometimes a lot of people make the mistake of just trying to focus on everything, and it can get overwhelming. So definitely take certain steps to focus on and continue from there. Last is understand your process and get organized. Really, I would say that this is major and should be first, just because everybody has their processes. And if you don't know your processes, you do have them. It's just a matter of making sure that you know what those steps are. And writing those down can definitely help. But getting organized with vendor, client, product lists, understand your processes is extremely crucial, no matter what software you're using. Okay, so let's exit out of that presentation and come into the studio. So something to keep in mind, whenever you go to your studio, everybody has their own unique login URL. So for example, mine is marigold.next.mydomastudio.com, but I also have one that's mydomabasiclessons.next.mydomastudio.com. If you aren't sure, you can go to mydomastudio.com and select the login option at the top right and enter your email. It's not the way that I typically recommend to log in just because it's extra steps. But if you aren't sure what your URL is, that'll at least get you here. Or of course you can message us and we'll be more than happy to help. But whenever you're in your studio, it's gonna be what is at the very top. And if you bookmark that, that is gonna help speed up you logging in each and every time. It doesn't require you to log in every time. It'll keep you logged in for quite some time. And so sometimes it'll ask for your email and password here. And sometimes you'll already be logged in and you'll just click Studio and it'll take you to your dashboard. So if I wanted to bookmark that, like what I just did in the URL, I just removed dashboard or studio/dashboard, hit enter, and then I would bookmark that link that it takes me to. So one of the very important things that you'll need to know is where to find help. So there are a couple different places that you can do this. For help guides, you can select your studio name at the top left and then go to help guides. And this will open up a new tab for you to then search throughout our help guides. It is by certain categories. So if you wanted to look for something first, select that and then look through those articles, you could, or you can just search for it at the top. The other place you can do this is if you select the question mark at the top right, unless you're on a smaller screen. If you're on a smaller screen, like a mobile device or a smaller laptop, you may see 3 lines at the top left instead, and then the question mark will be there. So something to keep in mind, depending on your screen size. I am going to zoom back out just because of my personal preference. So I select this question mark, and then I can go to help guides here. Again, I can go to see all help guides or select a specific topic. There's education. So there's a few different resources here that you can go to. Community, so you can join our Facebook group, you can view events, so different webinars or workshops that we have, and also the VA directory, which is virtual assistant directory. And then last is connect with support. So in this, you can send us a message. Oops, didn't mean to highlight that. You can send us a message. You can search for help articles here. At the bottom middle, you can select messages to review any previous conversations that you've had with us. So even if we've stopped it and closed the conversation, you still have access to that you can refer back to. And then the question mark for help, you can search your help guides here. That way you have it presented here, and then you can continue working in the studio. If you have a certain article pulled up, so let's say that I have inviting a client, it can expand it. If you scroll all the way down to the article and you wanted to open it in a new tab, at the very bottom, you can open in Help Center. So that'll open it in a new tab. Alternatively, if you exit out of this so you can continue, if you press and hold the question mark, it'll bring you right back to where you were so you can continue on to the next step. Same thing for if you're messaging us. If you press and hold that question mark and you were in a message with us, if you press and hold, again, it's just going to open it up back up to where you were. If you are coming from a different software or maybe from a bunch of spreadsheets and you want to help expedite your getting started, so your clients, your products, and your vendors, you are able to mass import those. So there is an article called Best Practices for Studio Data Importers, to where it breaks down how you would need to set up a CSV sheet or a spreadsheet and send it to us. And in each section, it shows what the header would be and any extra little notes that you may need to know. So again, we can do products, we can do clients, and we can also import vendors. So what you would do is you would end up emailing it to me and then I would upload it into your studio. It does not take very long for us to do, so it's not like you're waiting over a week or however long. We absolutely can get it done within the same day as long as it is during business hours. If you have questions on that, just message us and we will be happy to show you that. One of the next things that you may want to do whenever you are in your studio is to edit your profile. So your specific profile. You can see your name. This is not my name, but you'll see your name at the bottom left corner that you can click on and then go to user settings. So you can uncheck any notifications that you'd like. This is where you can update your password. If you wanted to update your email or name or phone number, you can select the pencil icon here in the middle and update that information. This is also where you can upload a profile image of yourself. And then lastly, you have the theme. So you can select to get from system, light or dark mode. And so these are specifically just for you. It wouldn't affect any clients or team members. So if you wanted to switch to dark mode, you can absolutely do that. And again, it doesn't affect anybody else. They have the option to do that on their own. Next, we're going to go to update studio settings. So once you're done with your information, you'll likely want to set up your business information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the logo mark or the studio name at the very top left. If you don't have a logo mark, it'll be your studio initial. And then you'll go to studio settings here. If you do not see studio settings, it may be that you're a team member on a profile and you don't have permissions to that. But if you created the profile, if you created the studio, you will have access to that no matter what. In here, you have the basic information. So you can upload your logo. So it'll show on invoices, orders, different documents and places in the studio. You can upload a background image. So for this specifically, it does not need to take up the whole section. It will update as you, based off of your screen size. So if I go to that login page again, You can see that that picture is listed here, and it just adjusted based off of my screen size. You can change your studio name. So if you go through any rebranding, you can absolutely do that here. The welcome intro title and text is what shows right above the login box. Some places require that you have your tax ID number on all orders and invoices. If you are in a location that requires that, this is where you will enter that. Not everywhere requires that, so definitely check with your accountant or business lawyer. Either of them should know for you. And then on the right-hand side, you have your business address. Continuing down, you can select to add a logo mark. The logo mark is typically just a simplified version of your logo, and it will always show at the top left corner. It does show for all team members and clients. Clients won't be able to select it, but they can still at least see it, so that's nice to have. You can change your default currency and then also select the theme. So for the theme, it does affect everybody in the studio, clients, team members, everyone. So if you change the theme, you can see different buttons and kind of different colors change based off of what theme you select. And so you can select different ones that match your branding closest or that you feel would be the best for your business. Next, we're going to go to billing. So in here, you have your starter, professional, and professional team plans. You can see when you renew, and you can update your card information. So if you need to update your card, you'll select edit at the far right and then update that. If you scroll down, this is where you can add more team members or add on the Visualizer Pro. If you have questions on this, please message us. Kim will be more than happy to help you upgrade your plan or help you decide what plan is best for you. Or if you're already working with Freya or Derek, they'd also be able to help. Of course, Marsha and I are happy to help too, but those three are definitely the key people to help you with that. You're also able to see payment history in here. So if you wanted to see previous invoices that you've had for your subscription, you can download those here. Continuing on, something that you may want to set up is your payments. So to be able to collect payments, credit card, and if you're in the US, you can also collect bank transfers through the studio. And to do this, you would select Connect with Stripe. It will pull this open and allow you to select whatever you would like. If you already have a profile, you can select that and connect, or you can create a new account. And we do have steps on how to do that more specifically, but since that goes into pretty more kind of intimate details like your business bank information, if you have your social and stuff like that, I don't necessarily want to go too far into that. But if you have questions, let us know and we're happy to help. If you already have a Stripe account, you can log in a new tab and then select connect. And usually that Stripe connection will recognize that you're logged in and make it faster for you. We're going to skip down to accounting. And so this will be the last basic thing that you would want to set up before getting other things ready, is adding your tax rate into your studio. So under accounting, everybody has add tax here. Not everybody has connect to QuickBooks. If you are already with QuickBooks Online, you can connect this and map out where things will go, and you can send fully paid invoices over to QuickBooks. The account owner has to do this. A team member cannot. You only have to set up once, and even if you have to disconnect and reconnect, it will remember all the settings that you had. But more importantly, you'll see add tax here. Typically throughout the whole studio, if you're adding something, it'll be at the top right, unless you are on a mobile device or a smaller laptop or zoomed in quite a bit, then it will be at the bottom right. So let me just zoom in so you can see this. It'll be a plus sign at the bottom right if you're zoomed in or on a smaller device. So I'm going to select to add a tax rate. This is where you'll give it a name and a description. This is more so for your purposes. If you have split taxes, so if you need 2 different tax rates in one, you will want to turn this on so you can see what tax goes where. So for example, I'm in the US. If you had a county and a state tax that you had to do, or different provinces like GST and HST and things like that, this is where you would want to turn it on just so you can see what tax is separated for what. To add the actual rate, you're going to select Add Tax Rate. And for the rate name, agency, and value, if you have QuickBooks connected, it needs to match it exactly to what QuickBooks has. Otherwise, whenever you try to send an invoice, it will give you an error. So again, you just want to make sure that you match the rate name, the agency, and the value. Agency, for example, would be like the CRA, the IRS, Tennessee Department of Revenue, stuff like that. It just depends on what tax you're trying to add. If you have questions on what taxes are for your location, ask your accountant or bookkeeper. Again, a business lawyer probably would know as well, but since accountants and bookkeepers specifically work with your money, they should know even better. And if you are wanting to add that second tax rate, you'll just select to add another one and you'll put that second one in here. And if you need to remove it, you'll just select the minus to remove. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. Something to note, if you created one and you realize that you made a mistake, you can click on it and edit it. However, if something were to happen and the tax rate changed, what I highly recommend is that you archive the old one and create a new one. Because if you have records already there from, let's say, last year where the percentage was 5%, and then this year now it's 8%. Anything that was taxed previously, you want to keep at that 5% because that's what it was properly. And so that's why you want to select to archive it. It'll keep that record on any previous documents, and then you'll create a new tax rate with that new higher, or hopefully lower, maybe, rate. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a team member. So if you are on the professional team, you have yourself and 2 other team members, so that would be 3 seats. You are also able to upgrade to however many more team members you need. If you're on the professional plan, you can add a single team member if you don't need the 2. Just know that the professional team has that discount for if you needed 2 seats. And if you have a rather large firm, then let us know, and there is some enterprising pricing that we can work with you on. So once you have a plan that allows for team members, you're going to select your logo mark at the top left, go to Team Management, and then here you will see your team members. So there's a few different buttons at the top right that you have options for. You can create the team member or the role first. It doesn't matter which way that you do it. The role is the permissions and kind of the job title, for lack of a better way to say that you can set up for multiple people or just one. And then the team member is just for that one specific person to log in with their email and password. So I can select to add a team member. Again, it'll be at the top right. Unless you are on a smaller device, it'll be at the bottom right. We do have some default roles in here that you can always edit, or if you wanted to type in the new role, you can select to create that new role. I'm going to select a role and then edit it just so you can see how that would work. We'll just go ahead and do, actually we'll do 3D rendering. So the 4 fields that are required, you have to give them a role. They have to have a first name, last name, and a unique email. The email cannot be used for any other profile, whether that be a client or a different team member. It needs to be unique. So the phone number is not required, but the first name, last name, and email are all required. Once you have done this, you can select to add addresses. And also you can upload profile images for your team members as well. Otherwise, once they log in, they can upload it themselves. On the bottom right, you can select to save, or if you select the little arrow, you can select to save and invite them. If you invite them, that will go ahead and send them an email to create their profile and set up their password and get logged in. Something to keep in mind, whenever you create a team member, they start out as inactive, which is perfect. That's how you want them to start out. So whenever they're inactive, if you didn't save an invite, you can select the 3 dots on their profile and then select send invite here. This has a generic message, but you can customize the message and type in any extra details that you would like, and then go ahead and send the invite. Actually, let me just go ahead and send that invite so you can see the next step for them. So now I can see that they are invited. The invitation is available for 3 days just because they are creating their profile. So for security reasons, it does have to have an expiration. You are able to revoke the invitation. So if you put in a typo, or maybe you decided that you weren't ready for them to have access, you can select to revoke invitation. If the invitation expired, you will see the option to invite them there, like this one, invitation expired. I can just select resend right here, or I can select the 3 dots and send invite this way as well. Once they are invited and they create their password, they will automatically switch to active. So you don't have to worry about actually moving them to active. It will do that automatically once they create their profile. You also have the option to archive them, or if you needed to deactivate somebody, you can select the 3 dots and deactivate them. Once you deactivate a profile, it'll open that seat that you had back up, so you can change it to a different team member, or if you needed to downgrade that one team member spot, you could do that too. Now let's go on to client profiles, just because it's going to be very similar. Oh, sorry, hold on, back it up. You want to know how to edit the role. So I have the accountant here. I see the gear icon on the far right. I'm going to select this to open it and edit it. If I wanted to change the name, I can change the name in the second field and add a description. And then the first column is always view, the second column is always edit, and the third column is always create. So the toggle, if it's to the left, that is off, and to the right, that is on. Some toggles won't allow you to do it until you have the permission above it turned on. If you have questions about what the permission does, you can select the question mark to see a little bit more details. And keep in mind to scroll down. The very last permission is the visualizer, so there are quite a few. If you have questions on what would be the best permission settings for your team member for their needs, again, you can message us and we'll be happy to kind of help you narrow that down. You can always come back in and edit it to grant them more permissions or take away permissions. One permission that I would like to point out that is super helpful is the project manager. So this does not give them any extra access to anything. All this does is that it assigns them automatically to all projects. So you don't have to assign them each and every time. It doesn't change their permissions on if they're able to create or edit invoices or mood boards or notes, things like that. It only gives them access to the project overview and be able to go from there. Okay, now that we've talked about roles, we can switch to clients. So it'll be this person icon on the far left. If you're on your dashboard, it'll also say clients. And then something to keep in mind, again, if you are zoomed in, oops, let me zoom out one. You may need to scroll down in this section to keep that in mind. So if you are in clients and you're zoomed in, again, if you're wanting to see other things, you may need to scroll on this navigation menu on the left. I'm going to again zoom back out. And now to create a client, you can select Add Client on the far right. Again, the requirements are a first name, last name, and an email. Everything else, you don't have to necessarily set, but you can change it. And it does, again, have to be a unique email that has not been used in another client profile or any team member profiles. Whenever you filled out this information, you can select to add, or again, select the arrow, and you can select to add and invite them, add and open them, so you can add, edit more information, or maybe put some notes on their profile. Or you can also select to add and create new. So add and create new is useful if you're trying to add a whole bunch of clients one right after the other. That way you have them all in there. But again, if you have a bunch of those, you can still send it to us as that spreadsheet and we can import that for you. So again, the client will start out as an active. And then if you click on their name, you don't have to click those three dots, just click on their name. It'll take you into their profile. And you can select send invite here or at the top. You can also view email history so you can see if you have previously invited them and then deactivated them, or just to see when you last invited them. Whenever you select to send invite, again, it does that generic message, but you can customize it however you see fit and then send the invite. Once they are invited, it'll show invited here. And then again, if the invitation expired, which is after 3 days, you can select to resend invite. Or if the invite is new, so let me just go ahead and resend that. You can still select to revoke the invitation as well. You do not want to activate the client because again, you'll invite them and then once they create their password, it'll automatically switch them to active. So you don't have to select to activate them. In the client profile, you do have a bunch of different options. So I can select the pencil icon to edit their profile. I can also add some custom fields in here. And if I would like to apply a field, not necessarily what's in that field, to all clients, I can do this here. Just keep in mind, if you delete that field, it will delete across the board. So across all clients, if you, let's say, alternate phone number. Apply to all clients and save. If I just didn't need anything, I just won't fill this out. Or if I type something in, I can delete it and leave it there. Because again, if I select the delete, the trash can, it will remove it from all clients. Otherwise, I can select clear and it'll just clear this option. You also have the option to add internal notes. So it's just for you and your team, the team members that can see client management. And then you can also add their addresses here. So I can select add address, fill this out. This is extremely helpful for if you need the billing address on your invoice, or if you want the client's address to be the shipping address on an order. If you fill it out in their profile and they are assigned to a project, it'll automatically pull that in as an option for you to select from an existing address. There are some more options further down. If you have interest in knowing what that is, we can go over it at the end maybe. We also have some Tech Tip Tuesdays that we've gone over these. But just for time's sake, I'm going to not go over that right now just because it's not a required thing for getting started. So continuing on, I'm going to select this little storefront or lemonade stand kind of icon to go to my vendors. So in here, you can see they have quite a few different vendors. At the top right, or again on a smaller device, you'll select the bottom right. I can select to add vendor. For this, the only thing that's required is the vendor name. So if I just wanted to say vendor name, I don't have to fill anything else. I can just go ahead and select to add. It'll take me into that vendor profile and I can edit it, add any attachments, add their addresses for maybe I want to see their showroom versus their warehouse, stuff like that. I can add those in here. The primary contact is useful to have. If I select this pencil icon, I can fill that out for my rep. That way, whenever I select to email an order to the vendor, it'll automatically pull that email and name for me, so I don't even have to think about that. And it'll have it readily accessible. Of course, I can select this top pencil icon to edit this information at the top, to where I can add in the account number, vendor URL, default discount. So if you always have a 20% discount with this vendor, go ahead and add it in here, because anytime you label that product with this vendor, it'll automatically apply that discount. And then same thing for the markup. If you know that you want the markup to be the same every time with this vendor, you can add that in here too. So keep in mind that the discount is for your cost, the designer cost, and the markup is for the client price. And then you're also able to select a category and subcategory and add custom fields to vendors as well. If I come back out, you can see that I have multiple pages. So if I didn't want to scroll through, I can just start to type out the vendor that I'm looking for so I can find their information. If I no longer need a vendor, I can select the three dots and archive them to get them out of my way. And then it'll also ask if I want to archive any products with that vendor's name, or if I just want to archive the vendor. And again, you can mass import vendors through the option that I was showing you. So the spreadsheet, you would send that to us. And that is under the help articles for best importers. On the right-hand side, you do have, oops, I accidentally backed up to client management. But on the right-hand side, you have filters throughout the whole studio. So it'll be this funnel icon at the top right. And so again, you can see other options here. If you are zoomed in, there is a chance that you could possibly need to scroll down in the filters, especially if you're trying to look at archived, just to keep that in mind. Continuing on, you would like to add products into your studio. So the fastest way to do this, I recommend selecting your logo mark at the top left, and then going to apps and extensions. So from here, you'll select the browser that you're using. If you are on a mobile device, like an iPad, a tablet, your phone, you'll want to install the mobile app, and there is a mobile clipper through that, just because tablets and phones and stuff like that don't have the extension option. But if you're on a computer, you want to select the browser that you're using. Keep in mind, if you are on a Mac, the only option for the App Store would be Safari. If you're on a Mac using Chrome, you still want to select the Chrome option, or for Firefox, the Firefox option. Once you select this, it will take you shortcut to where you can install the clipper. I already have it installed. And on Safari, it'll be a little roof icon like this on the left-hand side of the URL. All others pretty much has it on the right. So most of them will hide in a little puzzle piece icon. So I know Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome both do this. I want to say that Firefox has something similar, but to get it out of it, you'll just want to make sure to pin it right here. That way it is easily accessible. Let me go to a generic item. I'll just go to CV2 just because it's going to be something I can get all the information for. Oops. I just accidentally selected somebody's studio, not what I wanted. Okay, so here I am. And whenever you're clipping a product to bring it into the studio, you want to go to the vendor site, go to the product that you would like to source and show or present to your clients, or maybe it's an item that you know that you use all the time, or you're just testing it out, whatever the reason may be. You want to go to that specific product first. And if you have a trade account, I recommend logging in first and then clipping, because then you'll make sure that you have the correct pricing. But once you are in, go ahead and select the roof icon at the top right. And then from here, you can select the image. So notice that this does have a few more image options that I'm not seeing here. It is strictly based on how the site itself is built. One tip that you can do is if you click on the picture to enlarge it and then open the clipper, it will allow more options for you. So then I can select the different angles that I would like. You'll know that it's selected because it'll have a darker border. And then I can select next. You can select as many images as you want, or if you don't want to select any at all, that's fine too. But make sure that if you are wanting an image that you do actually click on the image that you would like. Whatever image you select first will be the main primary image. If you would like to switch it, you can select the star and it'll switch that to be the primary image instead. If you'd like to remove an image, just select that little X and you are good to go. So now that I'm in here, I'm going to select this X to close the enlargement of the images, and I can continue through and fill out. So for the product name, anything that has this dotted blue box at the top right corner, if I select that, it's going to highlight whatever I'm hovering over and kind of box it in. Whatever I click on next, it will pull it over for me. So for example, the price, I can click on that, the product code, and so forth. That helps speed up your clipping process and also helps prevent human error. If you enter the MSRP, please keep in mind that currently there is not a way to hide the MSRP from the clients if they are in the products and services of a project. So if you want to keep note of it, but maybe not show them, you can note it maybe in the description or in the product code, a field that you're not going to be sharing with the clients. But if you do want to show the MSRP to them, great. Go ahead and put that in there. That way it is available for that. Not everybody wants it, and so that's just something to keep in mind. As I scroll down, I can select the category that I would like, which will help with mapping to QuickBooks. If I just go ahead and add a category here, otherwise I can go into the catalog and bulk edit, but I can also say what subcategory. I'll show you how to create subcategories here in a moment. Scroll down, fill out any details. And again, you would want to select the vendor that you had to make sure that it is applied for any orders, or if you had that default discount or markup, stuff like that. Especially for the orders, it's very important that you add the vendor to the items. And then you can go ahead and add it to an existing project, package, and of course, description. Once you are happy with this, you'll select to save the product. I'm going to close this out. So in the Clipper, keep in mind, you can close it or log out. If you close it, that just closes it. You can continue on to the next item after you have selected to save the product, because if you don't select to save, it won't save it in the catalog. But from there, it'll add it to your product catalog, and then you can close the Clipper once it says that it's been successful, and then continue on. But if you log out, then it's going to ask you to log in each and every time. So just make sure that you select, once you've saved that item that you clipped, that you close it instead of log out. And it will keep you logged in for quite some time as long as you don't select to log out. But if it asks you to log in, it's going to be the same email and password that you use to log into your studio. So now let's go to the product catalog. So it's going to be this sale tag icon over here on the left. And you can see different items that I have clipped or manually created. So I'm going to show you how to bulk edit items, how to add subcategories, how to manually create new products. So maybe you had an antique or something that you had in inventory that wasn't online. To manually create an item, it's going to be add new at the top right. Again, if you're on a smaller device, it'll be at the bottom right. And then it will ask you to fill out the same information that the Clipper asked, which is why if it is on the website, it's going to be a lot faster to just go ahead and use the Clipper and fill that information out. But having the manual way is useful to have. So you have the name, description, any pricing details. You can go to specs and you have some different specifications here. Make sure to scroll down. You can add tags, style, color. You can add multiple images to the item, and then you can also add internal notes. So one way to create a subcategory, if you are manually creating a product, you can select the category first and then select a subcategory, start to type in what you would like, and then you can select create here. However, if you're wanting to kind of add subcategories in bulk, I recommend doing it through the filters. But once you're happy with the product, you can select to save, and it will create that here. I'm going to go ahead and select save, and you can see that it says new product. The pricing is 0. If I click on it, it has a little preview of the details that I filled out. Let me select one that would have more. And if you clipped it and added a product URL, you can also select this to take you exactly to where you clipped it from. So if you have any questions or need to order it through retail, you can go through that to help. So to create subcategories in bulk, in my personal preference, on the right-hand side, you want to open up the filters. If you're on a large enough screen, it should automatically be open. You'll scroll down to category. You have to select a category first because the category is the first folder, and then it's underneath that it comes into play. So for appliances, for example. From here, I can search, but if I want to create, I'm going to select this pencil icon to edit subcategories. It'll show me the ones that I have existing already, but I can click in here and say that I want to add, I'm trying to think of Evan is another one that I don't have, and any other details. So I'm just going to type in some random numbers just so you can see. If you wanted to remove it, all you'll need to do is select the X. Once you're happy with all of the ones that you have added, go ahead and select save. I personally like to save in between each category just to make sure that everything is good to go there. And then if you wanted to switch categories and add and then save, you can do that. But that's probably going to be the easiest way to bulk add subcategories and set them up for the first time. If you would like to archive a product, you can select the 3 dots and archive it. Another option is to duplicate it. If you needed to duplicate an item because you have the option from 2 different vendors and you wanted to compare the pricing, or maybe you had clipped the item and there were a couple different color options and you went ahead and grabbed all those pictures and you just can switch it out. That would be another reason that you would want to duplicate it. Of course, if you needed to edit it, you'll select the 3 dots and then select edit here. I'm going to archive this new product since it is generic and I don't really want that there. To bulk edit items, there's only a few things that you can do, but you'll select this checkbox here on the items. You can filter however you need and then select that. But at the top right, you have a few options. You can bulk archive items. You can add them all to a project or a package, and then you also have the edit option. Under edit, you can add tags to all these items. You can say that all these items are under the same vendor. Same thing for category and subcategory. And price type is just switching between retail or trade pricing. It doesn't actually affect the price itself. To deselect, you can select the X, and it will deselect all those items. Okay, so we're going to continue to services, which will be this service tray or service bell, whichever way you want to say that. And it's going to be very, very similar to products. So you are able to clip services just because it's typically more generic, but you can select to add new at the top right, fill out the information here. Keep in mind, if you are wanting to use it for time tracking, you'll need to checkbox this. Otherwise, it will not show as an option to add to your times. You can go ahead and add a default rate, especially if you have your design hours or design time or something that is set. You can go ahead and put that in here. And you're also able to add images to your service. If you have a generic service that you'd like to have, for example, shipping, if you wanted to keep that outside of the product, because you can add that in a product, in the project, or maybe you had installation, you know that you're going to use that with multiple different vendors and the pricing is going to change. If you have something like that, what I personally recommend doing is naming it whatever you're wanting. So install, for example, and then leaving the vendor and the rate as they are, because you can update this in the project itself later on, and you can add the install to the project multiple times and it have different vendors, different pricing, stuff like that. So it's not affecting the other sections. But also that way you aren't having 20 different installs for all your different vendors. Once you're happy with that, you can select to save and it'll create that service for you. To edit it, you'll select the 3 dots and edit. Of course, you can select to add to project or package. You can duplicate it or archive. Personally, I do like to go into a project to add products and services if I'm going to do that, but some people do prefer to do it from the catalog. So that's another thing to keep in mind based off of what you're needing. Speaking of projects, let's go in there and show you how to create a project. We're not going to go super in depth on that. Just because we have multiple other webinars that we've done on those. So to create a project, there's 2 different ways. If you're on a newer plan, if you're on a legacy plan, like you've been with us for a while, I know there was at least one person that said that they were, you might not have Create with Max, but there are 2 options if you're on one of the newer plans or if you are newer. You can select to Create with Max or Add Project. So Add Project, you can just fill out the basic information here and create it. With Create with Max, it is an AI, kind of a more conversation where you can type out details and it will help create that project for you. So I'm going to go to Add to Project. The only thing that is required is the project name. You can add a start and end date, status, whether it's published or unpublished. If you create a project template in the future, you can then select project template, and it will pull in all details other than financials, so other than proposals, invoices, and orders, just because those will be unique each and every time. It'll copy all that information over, so it'll help expedite the project making process. So if you are interested in making a project template, we do have a webinar focused on that, but I recommend creating a shell of a project, or you can take a project that you go all the way through, save it as a template, apply it, and then remove any details. If you do that, then I would recommend once you've removed any details that you resave it. That way you don't have to remove the details each and every time, but just an option there. There are different features that you can turn on and off. So if it's to the right, that means it is on. If it's to the left, that means that it is off. These will hide that tab for you, for both you and the clients. So if you don't ever plan to use appointments or questionnaires in the studio, you can turn that off to get it out of your way. You don't even have to worry about it. I forgot to give it a name. I'm going to ignore that typo. Then from here, you can select to add clients. The person icon is to select clients that you have already created their profile for. The plus is if you wanted to create a totally new profile. And then same thing for users, you can select to add team members. If they're a project manager already, then you don't have to worry about adding them. They will be added once you've created it. And then once you're happy with that, you can select create. So as you can see, I didn't select to add any team members, but I have all of these team members listed here because they have that project manager permission. They're automatically assigned into this. So if I select this pencil icon at the top left, I can edit a lot of those same details that I just saw. This is also where I can publish the project whenever I'm ready. User access, so if I needed to later add a client or team member, I can do that here. Select the person icon. I can search, or I can just scroll through and select the person. And it will add it. If I want to remove them, I'll select the minus. Project features, so the same thing that was showing whenever you were first creating the project, if you needed to turn something on or off. So if you pay attention to this left-hand menu, I'll go ahead and turn those off, and you can see that that list got significantly shorter because I turned everything off. And then last is a feature image. If you wanted to add something other than your logo, it'll default to your logo, but if you wanted to have a picture of the front of the house or of the plot that it's a new build on, or anything that you designed or created in Canva, absolutely go ahead and do that, because this feature image will show at the front and be presented to your clients. Move this back over here. So something to keep in mind is how long does it take? Short answer, I'd probably say is about 30 days. Unless you are signed up for 30 days and you aren't doing anything, because of course then that's not gonna actually do that. But to get everything fully set up, including your projects and getting all the details in and everything like that, overall, there's a lot of information that you can put in. The very basics, you saw that I did that. And especially if you send us those CSV sheets to import your products, vendors, and clients that you had from a different software or spreadsheet or whatever, then that can also help expedite you just getting your basics set up. Self-taught leverage option, we have recorded webinars that we have in place, help articles, in-app chat, and you can build muscle memory and confidence faster if you're doing it self-taught. Another option is you can hire a VA, a virtual assistant, for the fastest approach. They can set things up and they can do more hands-on training for you. So if you are super busy and just need to get things going, that may be a good option. But if you're learning bite-sized pieces, it'll help you kind of progress a little bit, and you could hire a VA. It's not required, it's just an option. You could hire a VA to focus on everything else for you while you're learning each little piece. But again, is totally up to you. But remember, whenever it feels like your old way would be faster, there was a reason why you changed. Why did you want to switch or start something new in the first place? Everything does take a little bit of time to set up, but for the most part, a lot of the very basic essential things you can go ahead and get started right away. So the very basic setup, I could say that you could probably finish in a day and go ahead and start on a project. If you wanted to use all the features, that of course is going to take a little bit longer. But keeping a central place for products regularly used is time consuming. Searching and filtering in Excel for favorite products isn't always effective. You can check drawings and go back through your emails and check your invoices and check your Google Drive. It's just making sure that everything is centralized is going to help out so much. Okay, so again, this is to scan if you are not currently with Mydoma and want to sign up for a trial.